Bruh! It is Mike back with another video. You know what it is, you know what we do, man. And today we're gonna be watching the complete Resident Evil timeline explained, bro. If you guys don't know, man, I am currently playing Resident Evil 2 Remake, man, and I just reacted to all of the trailers for Resident Evil, bro. And man, this is crazy, bro. I know there's some characters like Chris Redfield, there's Leon Kennedy, there's like Claire, and I think Chris and Claire are siblings. But yeah, man, this is gonna explain the whole timeline for Resident Evil, bro. Let's watch this thing, man.
The Resident Evil franchise has a sprawling timeline that interweaves its complex narrative across 7 mainline games,
Dang, that's
a
from
handful of
3
spin-offs,
remake,
and countless DLC expansions. But how does it all tie together? Well, largely it's pretty linear. What's not so straightforward is that the ever-evolving timeline takes in everything from corporate conspiracies and human cloning to the American president's daughter and, well, whatever the hell this is.
What?
From the convoluted creation of the Umbrella Corporation through to the swampland horror of Resident Evil 7 via the crowd-pleasing, boulder-punching antics of one Chris Redfield.
Chris could do that?
The complete timeline of Resident Evil.
Hey, yo!
Okay, chronologically
music
speaking,
choice.
our story kicks off a couple of years before the creation of Umbrella. In 1962, Lord Oswald E. Spencer commissions architect George Trevor to design and build a certain mansion and research laboratory in the
real life
mountains. Trevor finally finishes his mad masterpiece in 1967, and it's a labyrinthine structure full of locked doors that make no logical sense. In order to hide the mansion's terrible secrets forever, Spencer, being the awful bastard that he is, invites the Trevor family over to stay, and, well, they never leave. Across the swinging 60s, he joins forces with university pal James Marcus and eccentric millionaire Edward Ashford on an expedition to locate a legendary African flower known as the Stairway to the Sun. This flower is said to contain powerful properties, and this is confirmed when the trio extract the progenitor virus from it. This virus has the ability to genetically alter organisms, and they immediately transport it back to the USA. Our evil trio then established the Umbrella Corporation as a legitimate pharmaceuticals company as a cover for their totally illegitimate viral research.
So they're the cause of the zombie outbreak?
Superhumans. Or at least that is Spencer's ultimate goal. Ashford becomes increasingly frustrated with the other two, and he makes for Antarctica to set up his own Umbrella research lab, which would later hold the Code Veronica project. Ashford never sees the Code Veronica project come to fruition though, as in July 1968 he is injected with the progenitor virus himself on the orders of all-round bad egg Spencer, and he swiftly dies. He is succeeded by his son Alexander, who takes control of the Antarctica Umbrella lab in an effort to keep his father's work going, albeit with more of a focus on cloning. Back in the USA, Spencer and Marcus take control of Umbrella facilities in the Arklay Mountains, just outside of Raccoon City. Spencer continues his research into the progenitor virus, the lab under the newly constructed mansion, while Marcus is appointed as director of the newly founded Umbrella training facility. Spencer's plan is to create a race of superhumans dubbed Project Wesker.
Just like Captain America.
This plan sees Umbrella kidnap a whole load of children to be loyal foot soldiers to Spencer's cause, and they are brainwashed and injected with the progenitor virus. Sadly, most of them die, all except a certain Albert Wesker, who we'll come to be quite familiar with across this timeline.
What you mean?
Meanwhile, in Antarctica, Alexander Ashford's Code Veronica project is finally complete. In 1971, Ashford creates 2 clones from his family DNA, Alfred and Alexia. Fast forward to January 1978, yep, the 70s were seemingly sparse for the Resi franchise, and Marcus is making a breakthrough with his research at the Umbrella training facility. By splicing the progenitor with leech DNA, he creates the T-virus, or at least a strain that doesn't immediately kill those exposed to it. It just turns them into hideously mutated creatures.
Zombies, yup.
Not sure which one of those is the better option, if I'm honest. His research is assisted by 2 students from the Umbrella training facility, Doctors William Birkin and Albert Wesker, but their work together does not last long, At the end of the school year, Umbrella closes the facility down, and Wesker, Birkin, and the T-Virus are all moved to Spencer's Arclay research lab. Suspicious of Spencer's motives, Marcus stays behind with his research, and he continues to experiment on anything and everything from mammals to reptiles,
Sheesh,
all of which
bro.
will pop up as end-of-level bosses in Resident Evil 0.
Oh, okay. So this all takes place in Resident Evil 0. All these creatures was from the T-Virus. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, okay.
The early 1980s are not a good time for the Ashford family. Remember Alexia? Well, she's grown up to become a 10-year-old child mastermind and is promptly appointed the senior researcher at Umbrella's Antarctica lab.
Okay.
Much to the annoyance of 21-year-old Wesker. Keep up, Albert. After learning the truth about their origin as clones, Alexia and her brother Alfred vow to hunt down and capture their father, which they succeed in doing in 1983. With Alexander Ashford in her custody, Alexia uses him as a test subject for her research into a new version of the T-Virus.
Why would
known
they
as the
do that?
Veronica virus. Believe it or not,
Veronica
the experiment
virus?
turns him into a psychotic monster.
Don't tell me.
Later known as Nosferatu.
Oh.
No, not that one. Taking the failed experiment on the chin, Alexia uses the data she obtained on her father to inject herself with the T-Veronica virus, while she peacefully sleeps the effects off in a cryogenic chamber for 15 years.
What?
Don't worry, we'll come back to this mad child prodigy later on.
Huh?
Back in the Arclay labs, research on the virus, now headed up by William Birkin, has stalled. Umbrella has discovered that 10% of the population are naturally immune to the virus, and Birkin sets himself the morbid task of solving this unique problem. His answer comes in the form of a bioorganic weapon, or BOW for short, known as the Hunter, which is born through splicing reptilian and human DNA with the T-Virus. Birkin's research and development continues across the 80s, and culminates with the start of a little project known as the Tyrant. Okay, it's late 1988, and I think it's about time we catch up with our good pal James Marcus, who's slowly been going off the rails with his own brand of the T-Virus research. As an independent researcher, Marcus makes headway by continuing to experiment with leeches, and in some extreme cases, his own staff. And he eventually creates his magnum opus, the Queen
Leech?
His old mate Oswell Spencer is having none of this though, and seeks to regain control of the T-Virus research by assassinating Marcus and stealing his work. He sends in a team of Umbrella soldiers alongside Wesker and Birkin, and they shoot and kill Marcus before dumping his body and his precious Queen Leech at a nearby sewerage treatment.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll crop back up in this story. Spoilers, they do.
I know
The
it.
90s sees Umbrella expand their operations across the Arclay Mountains and into neighbouring Raccoon City, with Birkin making significant progress with his research, creating the superior G-Virus in the process.
G-Virus?
Spencer commissions a gigantic
How many
underground
viruses
lab to
are
be
there?
built underneath the city, a job that he covers up by bribing Raccoon City Police Chief Brian Irons. Fast forward to 1996, and the Raccoon City Police Department instigate the inaugural Special Tactics and Rescue Services Unit, or STARS for short. Although it's under the jurisdiction of the RPD, it remains a privately funded independent venture, namely so Umbrella can keep their fingers in the pie. Disgusting. During this time, Albert Wesker is assigned to STARS by Umbrella, and he quickly becomes the captain of the squad's Alpha team. Okay, we have finally arrived at the most pivotal year in our Resident Evil timeline, 1998, a year that a whopping 5 games from the franchise take place in. In May 1998, there is a catastrophic outbreak of the T-Virus at the Spencer Mansion Labs, and a handful of Cerberus, zombie dogs to you and me, escape into the Arclay Mountains and start killing unfortunate hikers.
Sheesh.
In an attempt to contain the outbreak, Umbrella locks down the mansion lab and the T-Virus begins to spread among the poor staff still there.
This is when the
Naturally, with
outbreak
the horrific
happens.
nature of the Arclay killings, the stories emerging inspire a media firestorm, and the press start putting pressure on the RPD to get the situation under control. Chief Irons dispatches the STARS Alpha and Bravo teams to investigate the surrounding mountains, with Wesker overseeing the missions. Unbeknownst to the rest of his teams though, Wesker's directive from Umbrella HQ is instead to gain critical information about the site's BOWs and destroy the mansion before it's discovered. Alongside that, he is ordered to gather information about the BOW's combat ability, specifically in their interactions with the incoming STARS teams. And so we finally reached the very first game in the Resident Evil timeline,
Resident
which
Evil
details
0.
the STARS Bravo team's failed mission. The Bravo team make their way out to the Arklay Mountains only for their helicopter to crash en route, courtesy of a little bit of sabotage from our good mate Wesker. Instead of making for the Spencer Mansion as per their original plan, the team stumble onto the wreck of a military convoy with all the soldiers very much dead. They discover that the troop had been escorting accused murderer Billy Cohen, and putting 2 and 2 together and making 5, assume Billy is the lad responsible for all the brutal killings.
What?
They split up, and rookie STARS member Rebecca Chambers quickly discovers an abandoned train, the Ecliptic Express. Now remember I said that James Marcus and his prize Queen Leech would make a comeback into this story.
So they're about to come up, bruh, and they're gonna have to they're gonna have to defeat them. Oh my gosh, bro. That is crazy. Okay, let's see how they look, bro. Let's see how they look.
Well, boy, what a comeback it is. It turns out that when Umbrella dumped Marcus and his leech in that sewerage facility, the leech slowly ate away at Marcus's body and mind, effectively absorbing his personality.
Oh.
The end result was a reincarnated Marcus leech hybrid thing, hell-bent on revenge with Umbrella. This franchise is f***ing mad.
It
and
is.
I love
It is mad.
With Marcus back from the dead, he goes to town on the train, and by the time hapless Rebecca Chambers stumbles onto the train, they are all dead.
Sheesh.
Or undead, I guess, having been consumed by Marcus's army of leeches. Rebecca boards the train, encounters death row inmate Billy Cohen, and they start to investigate the express. Keen to get the train back on its
so
journey,
he's okay. So he's
Wesker and
alive.
Birkin send in a team of Umbrella soldiers who succeed in getting the train underway, but promptly get chomped by the leeches. Rebecca and Billy manage to bring the train to a stop, albeit a messy one, and emerge from the wreckage at the Umbrella training facility. Marcus, or the hybrid leech thing, reveals himself to Wesker and Birkin, and this leads the duo to activate the facility's self-destruct function.
Oh.
Caught in the middle of all this are poor Rebecca and Billy, who navigate their way out of the facility, kill the Queen Leech, and get to safety before the place blows sky high. As they overlook the destruction, Rebecca allows the actually innocent Billy to go free, and she leaves him to go and help Alpha Team at a familiar-looking mansion. The game then ends with Billy giving the cheesiest thumbs up I've ever seen.
That is so out of character.
Okay, we are now with the OG Resident Evil, which details the exploits of Alpha Team in their mission to investigate the Arklay killings. Headed up by Wesker, the STARS squad includes expert marksman
Wait,
Chris
so
Redfield.
is this before Resident Evil 0? So is this what's it called? A prequel to Resident Evil 0? Like, I guess.
Jill Valentine, the master of unlocking, top explosives lad Barry Burton, and helicopter pilot Brad Vickers, among others. The team successfully land near the mansion, but are quickly caught off guard by a pack of zombie dogs, which forces them into the Spencer Mansion. Separated, they each make their way through the illogical maze of corridors, encountering and surviving the zombified Umbrella staff, BOWs, and various other mutations.
gosh.
Meanwhile, Wesker is pulling the strings.
Yeah,
behind the scenes. He strong arms back.
Bro, Wesker, dude. Oh my gosh, this guy's a double agent. This is crazy, bro.
Barry into helping him set traps for the rest of the STARS team by threatening to kill his family.
Oh my god.
Chris and Jill survive everything and anything that's thrown at them. Sharks, snakes, spiders, bad dialogue. And they meet up with Rebecca Chambers on their way to getting out of the mansion. Wesker is finally revealed to be a traitor to Alpha Team, and as a result, he releases Umbrella's Tyrant Project, a huge mutated man mountain, not that one, in a bid to kill the remaining STARS members. Chris, Jill, and Rebecca fight off the Tyrant, and thanks to the impeccable timing of Vickers' return with their helicopter, they all escape as the Spencer Mansion self-destructs. There's definitely a pattern emerging here, right? Amidst the chaos, Wesker manages
self-destruction
to survive
of the mansion,
albeit without the critical BOW samples he intended to gather, and he leaves Umbrella for good. A couple of months pass, and we catch up with Jill Valentine during the events of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Under pressure from Umbrella, STARS has been disbanded, and nobody believes the team about what they saw in the Arklay Mountains. The T-Virus has very much arrived in downtown Raccoon City, having spread from that gigantic underground lab that somehow remains secret. With the zombie population on the rise, there is chaos in the streets, and the
Well, that's the
RPD
remake.
is quickly overwhelmed. Umbrella, in a series of questionable decisions, starts deploying BOWs all across Raccoon City. Chief among them, the dapper Mr. X, and the titular foe of Resi 3, Nemesis.
Mr. X.
Nemesis is given the mission of hunting down former STARS members. And keeping the momentum going, Nemesis begins his unrelenting chase of Jill Valentine.
Oh
Across
my
town,
gosh.
the Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasure Service, God that's a mouthful, arrive and start evacuating anyone who's not a zombie. In her attempts to escape, Jill runs into UBCS team member Carlos Oliveira, and the pair take the fight to Nemesis while trying to escape.
That's
the ruins of the
Nemesis?
city. During their fight,
Oh my
Jill becomes infected with
gosh.
the G-Virus, leaving poor Carlos to fend for himself and find a cure for Jill. Will she survive? You'll have to wait till later to find out, because we've got a date with a blonde hunk.
A blonde, huh?
Taking place concurrently with Resident Evil 3 is the campaign to Resident Evil 2, which sees new cop on the block Leon Kennedy and Chris Redfield's sister Claire appear for the first time in the franchise.
Okay.
Leon arrives in
So this is
Raccoon
where
City
Leon
for
comes
his
in?
first day on the job in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. After encountering Claire Redfield, who's searching for her brother Chris at an out-of-town gas station, the pair make their way into the heart of the city before getting separated during a car accident. Leon eventually makes his way to the RPD, which is completely overrun with zombies.
Okay, wait. So what I'm understanding is that Claire and Chris are siblings, obviously, and Chris is on a team with Jill Valentine, and in this case, Claire is with Leon. Okay, so that's what I'm understanding. So in Resident Evil 2, we play as Leon and with Claire. And in Resident Evil 3, we play as Jill Valentine, and that's where she's supposed to be on a team with Chris, but I don't know. I don't think Chris is in Resident Evil 3. But yeah, that's what I'm gathering so far.
After navigating the station's bizarre lock and key setup, it is an old museum after all, Leon finds himself down in the cells where he runs into the mysterious Ada Wong.
That?
Ada's mission is to
Wong.
swipe a vial of the G-Virus, and Leon agrees to go along with it, the naive heartthrob. As they're investigating, the pair are attacked by Mr. X, and they escape
Mr.
into the
X?
sewers where they encounter Annette Birkin, wife of Umbrella
So they got
scientist
Resident Evil
William.
2. Resident
Annette
Evil
injures
2
Ada
has
and informs
Mr. X.
Leon that he's working with a mercenary who
And
wanted
3
to
has
sell
Nemesis.
the virus on the black market. Leon, the fool that he is, descends into Birkin's lab anyway, swipes the G-Virus and returns to Ada, who immediately holds him up at gunpoint for it. Annette pops up one last time, shoots Ada, and
I did not
in
want to know
ensuing
that.
chaos, the G-Virus and Ada fall into the abyss. As Leon tries to escape the lab, Mr. X makes one last encore before being dispatched by a handy rocket launcher that is thrown to him by Ada,
Ooh.
who has miraculously survived her fall. Meanwhile,
Oh.
Claire encounters a young girl, Sherry, daughter of William Birkin, and they manage to escape a giant creature by taking refuge in the RPD car park, where they meet morally bankrupt police chief Brian Irons. Brian kidnaps Sherry and locks her in a neighbouring abandoned orphanage. As Claire mounts a rescue mission, a tyrant drops in on Irons, infecting him with a parasite. Irons dies and Sherry flees, while Claire manages to escape into the sewers, only to bump into Sherry's mum Annette, who reveals that the creature chasing her daughter is in fact her mutated father.
What?
Turns out our Will had plans to sell his G-Virus creation to the US military, a plan that didn't go down too well with Umbrella, who promptly sent in a team to kill him. To save himself, Birkin injected himself with the G-Virus, turning the good doctor into a repulsive monster. In the ensuing carnage, he destroyed a bunch of T-Virus stores, which led to the Raccoon City outbreak. When Claire and Annette find Sherry, they discover that she's already been infected by her father, and the pair hatch a plan to find a cure from within Birkin's labs. Claire succeeds in finding an antidote, and in the chaos of getting back to cure Sherry, Annette is killed by her husband. Naturally, the whole facility enacts the contractually obligated self-destruct function, and Claire and Sherry escape to an evacuation train where they meet back up with Leon. Birkin has one more crack at killing them, fails,
Oh my
and is then
gosh.
caught in the fires of the exploding labs. Okay, let's wrap up that cliffhanger from earlier. Carlos, being the absolute lad that he is, scavenges a cure for Jill, because by this stage they're just lying around the wastes of Raccoon City, and she recovers from her infection. The pair make their way through a series of underground Umbrella labs in an attempt to escape the city before it's nuked from the air. It's the only way to be sure. En route, they're ambushed by good old Nemesis one last time, and Jill fires the killing blow with the biggest of big f***ing guns.
Okay! Oh, that looks tough.
After defeating Nemesis and overpowering one of
gosh.
Carlos's corrupt squad mates, the pair ride off into the sunset, and Raccoon City is reduced to ashes behind them.
Oh, so that's the end of Raccoon City. Dang, that is a nuke.
3 months have passed since the devastation in Raccoon City, and Claire Redfield is still searching for her brother Chris. Her search takes her to an Umbrella facility in Paris, where she is eventually caught in a sequence
Veronica.
heavily riffing on John Woo. Umbrella locks her up in an isolated prison in the Southern Ocean known as Roquefort Island. And lo and behold, there is an outbreak of the T-virus on the island, and Claire soon gets set free. Soon after, she encounters the world's most irritating Canadian, a floppy-haired lad called Steve Burnside, and the pair team up to escape the island. In their way stands Alfred Ashford, one of the clones created by Umbrella co-founder Alexander Ashford. And well, he's gone a bit insane. His time alone, and apart from his twin sister Alexia, has led him to cultivate a split personality, and he switches frequently between the identities of himself and Alexia. Claire and Steve soon break free from Roquefort Island, only for Alfred to divert their plane to the nearby Umbrella facility in Antarctica, using the system's autopilot override. Crash landing in Antarctica, the pair finally defeat Alfred, who uses his final spark of life to awaken his sister Alexia from her cryosleep. She's not the only Ashford in Antarctica though. Turns out Papa Alexander Ashford, the other Nosferatu, is still around, and he's hungry for revenge. As Claire squares off against the hideous remains of Alexander, Alexia takes control of the situation and captures our heroic duo as they attempt to escape. Meanwhile, back on Roquefort Island, Chris has turned up searching for his sister. In his search of the island, he bumps into none other than Dr. Albert Wesker, who has gone rogue from Umbrella since the Spencer Mansion incident, and is there to retrieve a sample of the T. Veronica virus. With their goals both in Antarctica, the pair separately make haste for the Umbrella base. Once there, Chris saves Claire, poor Steve becomes infected and dies, Alexia is finally defeated, and that sneaky bastard Wesker makes off with Steve's T. Veronica virus-riddled body, all while Umbrella's Antarctica base, yeah, you guessed it, self-destructs.
Yeah.
Okay,
Dark
next
Side
up
Chronicles
is the
Wii.
Light Gun spin-off Resident Evil Dark Side Chronicles. While the majority of Dark Side Chronicles is a retelling of Resident Evil 2 and Code Veronica, there is one new mission in its campaign that keeps our timeline ticking along, and that is Operation Javier. 4 years after the disastrous events in Raccoon City, Leon Kennedy and Special Ops member Jack Krauser are dispatched to South America to apprehend cartel leader Javier Hidalgo, who has apparently infected his daughter Manuela with the Veronica virus. Leon and Krauser encounter and secure Manuela before proceeding to Hidalgo's complex. There they defeat Javier, who has fused himself with the Veronica virus to become some kind of giant killer plant, and they escape with Manuela via helicopter. During the fight, Krauser's arm is wounded and becomes infected, and as a result, he's discharged from the US Army. This leads him down a darker path as he contacts Resi Big Bad Albert Wesker to join his team.
What?
Umbrella Chronicles is next in our timeline, and it largely retreads ground from Resident Evil 0, 1, and 3. But like Dark Side Chronicles, it has a unique mission called Umbrella's End, and I'm guessing you can figure out what that entails. The year is 2003. Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine are investigating Umbrella's last known stronghold, a facility in Russia, which is developing a new BOW known as the Talos Project. Chris and Jill, being the experts that they are, infiltrate the facility and destroy the Talos. But wait, who's that on the horizon? It's only bloody Wesker again, here to take his final revenge on Umbrella. Wesker flings his coat into the camera like an absolute nutter, it must be freezing out there, and tears his way into the compound. He encounters Sergei Vladimir, a high-ranking Umbrella leader who has been working closely with Lord Spencer to keep Umbrella going in the wake of the Raccoon City outbreaks. Sergei is no match for Wesker, who quickly dispatches him and steals Umbrella's deepest, darkest secrets, which he then makes public. As a result, Umbrella loses its long-standing legal battle with the US government, a dispute that's been going on since 1998, and Umbrella declares bankruptcy as a result. Nothing more exciting than court proceedings to bring an evil monster-creating corporation to its knees, eh, lads? With Umbrella
Resident
a thing of the
Evil
past,
4,
Resident
dude.
Evil 4 kicks off a new era for the franchise in thrilling style.
Yep.
Resi 4 is a largely self-contained chapter in the franchise, taking the series away from its zombified roots. The year is 2004, and Leon Kennedy is dispatched to rescue the American president's daughter, Ashley, from a mysterious cult in deepest, darkest Spain. He arrives at a creepy rural farmstead populated by a group of hostile villagers who have pledged their allegiance to the cult of Los Iluminados.
Oh, okay,
the
so they're
villagers
not
are effectively
zombies.
being controlled by a parasite known as Las Plagas, with the cult's leader Osmond Sadler calling the shots. Leon, after surviving chainsaws, giants, and a mutated whale, finally tracks down Ashley to a nearby church, and the pair later escape to a castle, which doesn't look menacing in the slightest. Jokes, it's under the control of creepy man-child Ramon Salazar, another of Sadler's henchmen. When Leon and Ashley get separated amidst the castle's deadly traps, Leon encounters an old acquaintance, the lady in the red dress.
Oh, I don't want.
Long time no see.
Leon battles his way out of the castle, killing a mutated Salazar, and makes his way to find Ashley at an offshore island facility. Old acquaintances are like London buses, it seems, as Leon then bumps into his former special ops buddy, Jack Krauser. Krauser reveals that he and Ada are both working for Wesker to secure the Las Plagas parasite, and Leon, being the good egg boy that he is, defeats him. Leon then confronts Sadler himself, killing him atop the island's research facility with a good old-fashioned rocket launcher to the face, courtesy again of Ada. Ada then holds Leon at gunpoint again, and she makes off with a sample of the Las Plagas virus.
Oh,
Meanwhile,
never mind.
Leon and Ashley escape the island's self-destruct sequence on jet skis. Resident Evil 4, what a game.
Everybody likes Resident Evil 4, man.
Resident Evil Revelations
Oh, they
takes
got this
place
for the 3DS?
smack bang between Resi's 4 and 5 and introduces the Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance, or BSAA, into the mix. God, Resi really loves its acronyms. In the wake of a bioterrorism attack that destroys the city of Terra Grigia, BSAA agents Jill Valentine and Parker Luciani are dispatched to the last known location of their missing team members, Chris Redfield, who's now got massive arms, and Jessica Sherowat. That last known location turns out to be the Queen Zenobia cruiser, which is drifting in the Mediterranean Sea, seemingly abandoned. While there, Jill and Parker are ambushed by an organisation called Veltro, the folks responsible for the previous bio-attacks, and they are imprisoned. The BSAA makes contact with Chris. Why didn't they do that in the first place? And sends him and Jessica in to rescue Jill and Parker, and they make for the Zenobia. Chris and Jill eventually reunite because that's what everyone really wants, and foil a plot to contaminate the sea with a virus known as the T-Abyss. At some point, they're just going to run out of names for these viruses.
Exactly, so many viruses.
Fast forward a year, and Dream Team
Resident
Chris
Evil
and Jill
5.
have finally tracked down the last remaining Umbrella co-founder, Lord Oswell Spencer. In a nice little nod to the original game, Jill, the master of unlocking, uses a lockpick to break into Spencer's residence, and the duo make their way through the mansion until they encounter not Spencer, but Wesker.
Oh
They
my
arrived ahead
gosh,
of
Wesker,
brutally
bro,
murders Spencer
chill.
by just punching him right through the chest. It's just devastating. Wesker then squares off against Chris and Jill,
What?
and as the battle comes to its conclusion, Jill rugby tackles Wesker out of a window, and they both plummet down a cliff. Did they survive? Of course they did. Wesker cryogenically freezes Jill in preparation for... Yeah, we're heading to Africa for Resident Evil 5, which takes place nearly 3 years later.
So I was right,
The game follows
Africa?
Chris Redfield and BSAA partner
In the last
Shiva
video?
Alomar as they investigate an outbreak of the Las Plagas parasite in an African town. Chris and Shiva stop an illegal arms deal and as a result stumble onto evidence that Jill is still alive. Driven to find his old partner, Chris continues the investigation and the pair find themselves in the cave that started this whole franchise off in the first place. Yeah, they rediscovered the origins of the T-virus, the Stairway to the Sun flower, and uncover a conspiracy involving the BSAA's parent company Tricell, who have been sneakily continuing on with Umbrella's research. Chris and Shiva eventually catch up to Jill Valentine, sporting a new blonde haircut, and wrestle her in order to remove a mind control device that is attached to her chest. To absolutely no one's surprise,
Bro, Wesker is
reveals
crazy, bro.
himself with another world-destroying plan. This time it's firing missiles containing a virus known as Ouroboros all around the world. Our trio chase Wesker down and eventually corner him in an active volcano. Because by this point,
this guy's
why
a
the
Terminator,
fuck not?
bro.
Chris and Shiva take the fight to Wesker, and in Chris's case, some poor, innocent, defenseless boulders that probably had friends and family that cared for them, and they eventually kill Wesker once and for all by firing, yep, you guessed it, ladies and gentlemen, it's the crowd favourite Resi Big Bad Killer, an RPG right into his smug face.
Dang, bro.
Next up on the timeline
Alright, so Wesker is dead,
Evil
right?
Revelations 2, a game whose story was heavily inspired by Czech author Franz Kafka, a fact that I literally just found out while writing this timeline. To make my job even more complicated, Revelations 2 takes place across 2 different timelines. The first sees Claire Redfield and Moira Burton, daughter of ginger legend Barry, being kidnapped and imprisoned on Shustovany, an island.
Is it a Russian name?
By a mysterious woman known as the Overseer. In a weird Kafka-esque experiment of sorts, the prisoners are fitted with bracelets that track their fear levels. Get too afraid and you turn into a monster. Ooh, symbolism. The second... This is so dumb. The second timeline, however, sees Barry arrive on the island in an attempt to rescue his daughter, a whopping 6 months later. The story then unfolds over 4 episodes, each of them named after a Kafka short story, and follows Claire and Moira's attempt to escape and Barry's rescue mission. Barry encounters a little girl known as Natalia, who reveals that the Overseer is in fact Alex Wesker, contrary to belief not a sister to Albert Wesker, but another child that has survived Umbrella's heinous Project Wesker.
2 Weskers? You gotta be shitting me.
The quartet finally manage to escape the island, if you got the good ending that is, and defeat Alex with, oh boy, is that, oh yes it is,
a rocket launcher.
The most classic of Resident Evil madman murdering weapons, the rocket launcher.
Yup.
Oh my god, where do I even start with Resident Evil 6?
Resident Evil 6,
Playing like
yes
the greatest
sir.
hits of the franchise, Resident Evil 6 features a bloated monster of a storyline with not 1, not 2, not even bloody 3, but 4 different campaigns and 7 major characters. The story kicks off on Christmas Eve 2012 with Jake Muller, the son of the late Albert Wesker. Hang on, when did he get busy? Yeah, Wesker being taken into custody by a grown-up Sherry Birkin, who is now a BSAA agent. Muller is the key to creating a vaccine to the new C virus, but Birkin's mission to extract him from the fictional country Edonia is put on hold when they are hunted down by a new bioweapon called Ustenak, which is like Nemesis on steroids. To add insult to injury, during the attack, they are abducted by an imposter calling herself Ada Wong. Meanwhile, BSAA agents Chris Redfield and Piers Nivans are in the same neighbourhood to keep the local infected population under control. They soon come under attack from a new organisation calling itself Neo Umbrella, supposedly led by Ada Wong, and their whole squad is wiped out by the C virus. Fast forward 6 months and the American president is about to air Umbrella's dirty laundry from the 1998 Raccoon City outbreaks. Filthy laundry that implicates the US government as much as it does Umbrella. But there's another bioterrorism attack, and the president is infected, forcing our old friend Leon Kennedy to kill him. Leon uncovers that the National Security Advisor Derek Simmons was behind the attack, and he tracks down Simmons to a Neo-Umbrella lab in Langxiang, China, with his partner Helena Harper. Chris and Piers are then dispatched to Langxiang to hunt down Ada, and they come into contact with Leon and Helena, who inform them that the Ada that they are hunting is in fact a clone. Following their run-in with Chris, Leon and Helena finally confront and defeat a mutated Simmons. Leon then dispatches Chris and Piers to an oil rig to rescue Jake and Sherry and prevent another large-scale bioterrorism attack.
Bro, I ain't gonna lie to you. This is very hard to keep up with, man. Like, these merging stories between Leon and Chris, and there's so many bioweapons and so many mutations and T-series, all these viruses. Dude, this is crazy, bro. Like, what? How can you... Okay. Like, all right.
This time courtesy of a bioweapon called Chaos. This kitchen sink approach to storytelling all dovetails into a messy conclusion that sees Piers inject himself with a C virus to defeat Chaos, Sherry and Jake kill the behemoth Ustanak, and the real Ada destroys the lab where her clone was created. Whew, that was a lot.
It was, bro.
And
now
so
we got
reached
7.
the final leg on our Resident Evil journey, the events leading up to the swampland horror.
Oh, this doesn't
of
have
Resident Evil
8?
7. The year is 2014, and all hell is about to break loose for the Baker family. After encountering an abandoned tanker in the Louisiana bayou, Jack Baker finds a little girl and brings her back to the family home. All appears normal until the girl wakes up and causes the Bakers to go, well... Fast forward 3 years to the summer of 2017 for the main plot of Resident Evil 7, which sees poor Ethan Winters encounter the charming Baker family while he searches for his missing wife Mia. As Ethan endures the delightful hospitality of the Bakers,
Welcome to the family, son.
Delightful
he
hospitality,
soon
my
discovers that
booty.
his wife and the family have been infected with a mold-like fungus that turns them super aggressive. He escapes the hellish residence with help from the Baker's daughter Zoe, defeating Jack and his wife Margarita along the way. Ethan eventually discovers that his wife Mia was working as an operative for an organisation that developed the little girl known as Evelyn into a bioweapon. Evelyn escapes and, well, you know the rest of the story. Ethan finally encounters Evelyn face to giant face, eventually killing her before being rescued by none other than Boulder murderer Chris Redfield.
Chris Redfield.
The pair escape in a helicopter
Said
with
Boulder
Mia
murderer.
if chose to cure her, and they fly off
Murderer.
into the sunrise. Wait, is that an Umbrella logo on the side of that helicopter?
What?
Well, sort of. In the wake of Umbrella's messy end, another company known as Blue Umbrella emerged from the ashes with the primary goal to clean up the mess of the original corporation. In the wake of the Baker residence outbreak, Chris Redfield assists Blue Umbrella in capturing Lucas, the last remaining Baker, before he reveals the secrets of Evelyn's infection to nefarious ne'er-do-wells.
Game over.
And there you go, the Resident Evil timeline in a hideous...
Oh my gosh. Alright, so now we got a new video from a new person explaining Resident Evil 8.
The 8th major Resident Evil game is finally here with Village. But unlike other Resident Evil games in the past, this one has a great deal of mystery surrounding it. Especially when we thought everything to do with the Winter family was wrapped up in 7. For months now, people have been scraping the internet for anything that Capcom have released to the public. From character shots to trailers and, well, Chris seemingly turning evil, unloading lead
What?
into Mia's face,
Nah.
and then just saying,
Sorry, Ethan.
and that's only the beginning of the game. Diving deeper, we have 4 lords and a region of mystery, which all leads to Mother Miranda. So as best
Mother
we can this soon
Miranda.
after launch, let's dive into this game's story and the ending. And of course,
Okay, this doesn't
major
look like it has
spoilers throughout from
zombies
Resident Evil Village and the rest of
anymore.
the series. I'm Ben Roy
It's
from
just people.
RockCulture.com, and this is Resident Evil Village, story and ending explained. Number 10. What happened to Mia Winters? Now, for all the pain and suffering she's gone through in the past 2 games, Mia isn't as innocent as you think. She's a former member of the Connections, a crime syndicate involved with biochemical research, money laundering, murder, and a whole bunch of horrible acts. But her life changed forever when she became the caretaker of Evelyn. Evelyn being created from samples of the mold and DNA of Eva, Mother Miranda's
Yep,
long
that's what I
dead
said.
daughter. Though Evelyn was able to control the mold, the Bakers, and Mia, she was considered a failure. That was until Rose was born. This resulted in Mother Miranda kidnapping Mia and experimenting.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I guess Mother Miranda is interested in Rose because she probably like has some sort of power or something. Dang, bro, and Evelyn's a failure. Oh my gosh, that's harsh.
After they moved to Europe. And whilst all this was going on, Miranda took the place of Mia in Ethan's home as an
What?
identical copy, though with a shorter temper.
There's nothing wrong with my memory.
Mia is eventually rescued by Chris, letting her and Rose go back to some form of normality, though both will probably
Bro,
always have
Chris
part of
is
the
a
mold with
goat.
them. After this game, Mia's hand doesn't really feel totally played, and there's sure to be more revelations to come in future games. Number 9. Lady Dimitrescu and her daughters. One of the 4 lords of the region, Lady Dimitrescu rules from her castle, and being one of the 4 lords, this means she's one of
Damn,
the more
boobs
successful
big.
experiments of Miranda. Though
Sheesh.
Dimitrescu was close to being a suitable vessel for Miranda's daughter, Eva. who has long been dead. Though thanks to a hereditary blood disease, Miranda wasn't satisfied. And this blood disease was the reason Dimitrescu had to keep consuming blood.
Oh.
You know, like classic vampires from folk
Vampire,
tales. But
yeah,
thanks
that's
to
what
the
I'm saying.
experiments, Lady D had
Was she a
accelerated
vampire?
healing. But just as Miranda predicted, this went unstable soon as it wasn't looked after.
Jeez,
And
bro,
Lady
they
Dimitrescu
went all out in
from
the
a tall
design.
woman to a humongous monster. As for her 3 daughters, Bella, Daniela, and Cassandra, they were created by Lady D and took on different abilities of their own. Namely, disappearing into a swarm of insects and then reconstructing themselves elsewhere. This form being why they couldn't get too cold, which could also be mistaken for staying out of the sun. Once they were exposed to the cold, unlike Lady Dimitrescu, they became weak and couldn't regenerate, therefore leading to their demise. Number 8. Carl Heisenberg and his plans. The other
Carl
one of Miranda's
Heisenberg.
almost perfect vessels for Eva, Carl Heisenberg
Bro,
gained
he's
quite
Magneto.
unique abilities of his own. Thanks to the Cardo parasite, Miranda described him as having electric organs, much like an electric ray, all tied up to his nervous system. Heisenberg could now move metal at a flick of a hand.
Yo,
Going
that is
far into the realm
hard.
of science fiction here, Heisenberg is basically this game's Magneto. With each
Yeah,
encounter,
that's what
he
I
goes
just
on to show
said.
more of his powers to Ethan, trying to tempt the desperate dad over to his side. Because Heisenberg might look like a
Bro.
smug chap on the
Resident Evil is turning into some like science fiction fantasy type junk with horror first person shooter. Like what, bro? I think that's cool. I mean, you know, it's something different. I like change. You know what I'm saying?
inside, but really he's got some deep-rooted anger and wants to take down Mother Miranda. Creating an army of his own, Carl seeks to use Rose against Miranda, feeling that she doesn't know the difference between experiments and family, as well as she stole his dignity from him and his body. Though to get Rose, Heisenberg must first go through Ethan, and well, that doesn't go too good, resulting in Heisenberg's death. Number 7. The relationship between the village and Umbrella. Now, it's no secret that Umbrella has something to do with this village, or at least what's going on. The company logo is everywhere, treated as a sacred symbol. It's eventually revealed that Mother Miranda and Oswald E. Spencer worked together in the past, with Spencer being a somewhat student of hers. So with that revelation, it seems like Mother Miranda was the nucleus for the Umbrella Corporation, or at least what led to Spencer's idea. After finding one last letter from Spencer to Miranda, it seems like their ideals clashed, and both split ways. And when I say split ways, I mean Oswald Spencer
How old is
left in a
Miranda?
hurry. He was but a mere human at that point, and Miranda was pretty much immortal. The letter itself has no date on it, but it does talk about Spencer finding the progenitor virus in Africa, which we can kind of guess means it's from the 60s. After this letter, it doesn't look like they ever spoke again, and maybe there was something more there than just a student-teacher relationship, as Miranda kept this letter and photos laying about. Either way, Spencer split off because he wanted to change the world, whilst Miranda just wanted to bring her daughter back to life. Number 6. Chris Redfield's true objective. For years since the tragedy at the Baker family home, Chris and the Wolfhound squad have been trying to put an end to the mold, or at least find its origins, and investigate further into the connections.
Bro,
The crime
Chris been
syndicate
through some
responsible for
junk,
Evelyn's creation,
bro.
and the one Mia used to work for. During
Oh
this
my
time, he
gosh.
was responsible for moving the Winter family over to Europe, and he kept a close eye on them. But at least in this time he gave Ethan combat training. Discovering that the village was hiding something, he along with his squad operated in the shadows, while Ethan relived the nightmare from before. Chris ultimately fails in protecting the family from Miranda, and doesn't reveal his true goal to Ethan for a long time. He's there to investigate Mother Miranda, and everything weird that's going on. Of course, he finds out she's a bioweapon, and that the mold from Resident Evil 7 came from here. This is the origins of it all, probably all the evil in the series. After fighting an army of lichens and destroying the Mega Mycete, he eventually finds this out after discovering Miranda's lab, learning the connection between this place and Umbrella, as well as finding out the secret behind Ethan Winters from Mia. Number 5. Mother Miranda's origins.
That is
Other than what
crazy.
Ethan looks like, this is probably the greatest mystery in Resident Evil Village. More so because she's a completely new entity to Resident Evil, having
Yeah.
no real prior mention for the most part. But just before she truly reveals her plot, Ethan can find some information from Chris, detailing what she did and what she can do. It turns out she infected herself with the Mutamycete. This granted Mother Miranda a number of abilities, with the most
Oh
notable
my
being
gosh.
mimicry. So basically she can take the form of anyone.
Definitely
Almost
a
anything,
final
even
boss.
crows. Controlling her cells, she made herself look like Mia. So she was the one being
That's
somewhat
OP.
executed in front of Ethan. But that wasn't the end, because she can make herself look like she's dead. After everyone thought she was dead, she resurrected herself, stole Rosemary, and killed half the squad. But for some reason, leaving Ethan behind. Number 4. Mother Miranda's objective. Unlike most villains in the Resident Evil franchise,
Don't-
Mother Miranda doesn't claim to want to take over the world. Oh, not yet anyway. But instead she just wants to bring her daughter Eva back to life. A daughter
Bro,
lost
she has to
100
let that
years ago
go.
to the Spanish flu. And throughout all that time she had been experimenting on villagers and anyone she could get her hands on, trying endlessly to find a perfect vessel
what
for
is
Eva.
that?
And this was all made possible after the creation of the Cardo parasite. Most of her testing resulted in lichens, but a lucky 4 became lords. Well, if you call that lucky anyway. But thanks to the events of Resident Evil 7 with Mia, Evelyn and Ethan, Rose was born, and Mother Miranda has what she needs to bring back Eva. But in the end, a father's love prevails. Number 3, the fate of Ethan Winters. All Ethan Winters wanted to do was protect his family, and throughout the past 2 games, he kind of did that. Though along the way he took a ton of punishment, but somehow managed to bounce back. And that's all because of what took place back at the Baker family home.
What?
After a showdown with Heisenberg, Mother Miranda finally reveals herself to him in her truest form. But this doesn't go too well for Ethan. Mother Miranda literally rips out his heart and covers herself with his blood. Though it turns out she didn't kill him, because in a dream Evelyn tells Ethan he's been dead for years. But somehow he keeps coming back thanks to the mold. Yes, that's right, Jack Baker killed him all those years ago. And thanks to this infection he can reattach limbs and just come back from the dead. Mia even seems to be aware of this as she alludes to Chris before the camera cuts away. Being more mold than man now, Ethan was seen as another experiment by Miranda, as she let him take care of all her failed experiments. Fighting back from the brink of death, Ethan defeats Mother Miranda and saves Rose. But it's all too late for him as his body starts to succumb to the mold. So he hands Rose to Chris and takes the detonator from his hands, and eventually in classic Resident Evil fashion, blows up the area. Number 2, Rosemary Winters. The daughter of Mia and Ethan Winters. In the opening of Resident Evil 8, Rose is seemingly kidnapped by Chris, and everything only escalates from there. Apparently Ethan's the only one not aware of her special gift, but then again he didn't realise that he had a gift too, and it takes characters like the Duke and Heisenberg telling him over and over again. Though when he comes to finally find Rose, turns out she's been cut up and put into jars, separated into 4 places by all the 4 lords. But after all the events discussed, she comes back.
Is there any game that's messed up as this, bro? Cutting a yeah.
Instead of Eva. And from there, after the credits, we find out what happened. Now all grown up, she looks to be in her mid-teens. On a bus with the book that her mum used to read to her, she's on the way to a graveyard,
Village
visiting
of
her dead
Shadows.
father for his birthday. She's quickly interrupted by some secret
Bro, he
service
died?
types, though she very confidently lets him know that she could take him down, and that Chris doesn't even know everything she can do. So it doesn't look like she's being held captive, but more of a Sherry situation, where she's being looked after in some respect. Though only time or the next game will tell what actually happens. Number 1. What's next for Resident Evil?
Yeah.
Capcom have made it very clear that this sub-story of Resident Evil isn't over, but how it will continue is unclear. Will the franchise jump all the way into the future with Rose as she's grown up, or will we follow Chris as he investigates the BSAA?
Bro, how
Because
old
for
is
some reason they were
Chris,
using
bro?
bioweapons when they went out of their way for years to destroy them all. So that's 2 ways that Resident Evil 9 can go next. That, or we get a sub-game, another Revelations maybe? And then there's all the characters still alive in the universe. We didn't hear from Claire, Jill, or anyone really. The one thing we do know is that the father's story is finally over. And sometime down the line, his daughter will be entering the world of survival horror.
That was a lot, bro. That was a lot of information. This timeline is insane, man. I can't believe that Chris is still like here. You know what I'm saying? Like Chris started from the beginning, you know? Like how old is Chris, bro, from all these years? Isn't he supposed to be like really old? Viruses, bioweapons. I kind of didn't want to see like him talking about what happened in Village. I didn't need to know that, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, if you guys enjoyed the video, you can watch this video right here where I react to all Resident Evil trailers, man. But yeah, man, stay blessed and be different from the rest. Yeah.